Managing Director, Uhde India, for the keynote address.
Mr. Narayan, Mr. Yashusha, Mr. Venkatramanan, Mr. Purvara, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and dear colleagues. It's an honor for me to be here for this keynote address in front of this elite gathering of delegates from chemicals and EPC industry, and I'm thankful to CHEMTECH to giving me this nice opportunity. The timing of this conference could not have been better. The CHEMTECH Foundation deserves to be complimented for organizing this important event, which has very high relevance for Indian EPC fraternity in particular, and also the global EPC companies who are looking at India as a market with very high potential. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, the chemical industry globally is going through a challenging and yet interesting phase, wherein existing, already developed markets are showing a sluggish growth trend, whereas the emerging markets, such as the so-called BRICS countries like Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and also the so-called MENA, means Middle East and North Africa regions, are being viewed as the marketplaces of the world. This is clearly evident if we take a look at the global list of top 20 energy companies, petroleum refining included, recently published in an international business magazine, wherein as many as 11 companies from BRIC countries are included in the top 20 against 6 the year before. Our own home market, India, is witnessing a period of steady growth, and the core sectors of petroleum refinery, petrochemicals, fertilizers, and power sectors, also aided by the prospect of natural gas availability at a competitive price. Top Indian companies in these sectors are putting up global-sized projects and operations. Some of the top-ranking Indian private and public sector petroleum refinery companies are now into the top 100 companies of the world. A similar trend is evident in the power sector as well. Some of the Indian private and public sector energy and petroleum companies are also among the fastest growing Asian average. At the fastest growing Asian companies in the world with compounded annual growth rates of or above 20%. Many of these companies have also been ranked as number 1 in Asia in their respective sectors. This clearly shows that given India's tremendous energy needs and a growing market demand for various commodities, the energy, power, and chemical sectors are the likely growth drivers for the coming years. After the market crash witnessed in the year 2008, global markets finally seem to be on a recovery path. A matter of concern, however, are the soaring crude oil prices which threaten to reach the US dollar 100 mark sustainably per barrel, with a likely corresponding rise in the fuel prices and key feedstocks for downstream petrochemicals industry. One hopes that this will be a temporary phenomenon. Having said this, there is a reason to be optimistic about the future, as recent published data shows that investments to tune of almost rupees 200,000 crore or US dollar 50 billion can be expected in the refining, fertilizer, petrochemicals, gasification projects in India in the next 5 years. The proposed dedicated chemical zones means petroleum, chemicals, petrochemical investment regions, abbreviated PCPIL, at Dahej, Mangalore, Vizag, and Haldia, will no doubt be a boost for investments and projects in these sectors. The Indian chemical industry is now quite well integrated with the global chemical industry, and the major projects being put up are increasingly of global scale. Recent examples being the Jamnagar refinery at Reliance, which is the single largest capacity refinery to be put up at one location. Similarly, the cracker and downstream polyethylene project of IOCL at Panipat, or the upcoming cracker and downstream petrochemical project at Opal. This trend of global-sized plants seems likely to continue in future and is imperative in order to keep pace with and to be competitive in the global market. The prospect of revival of world markets, including India, means that interesting times are ahead of us for the energy and chemical industry and the EPC companies in India and globally. The list of global EPC companies setting up offices in India is ever increasing, with some major American, European, and Korean EPC companies. They are setting up offices and establishing themselves, and they are fast becoming the engineering hub for these EPC companies due to the excellent qualified engineering manpower available in India itself. Secondly, for implementation of the Middle East projects, India is ideally located both geographically and as a good source of equipment and engineering manpower. With the continued investments in the MENA region, there are opportunities for the Indian EPC companies to compete and win engineering and/or EPC LSTK assignments. There are also opportunities for Indian equipment suppliers to compete on MENA assignments. High engineering standards, workmanship and norms, and time delivery schedules are essential requirements in order to compete there and internationally. To sum up and conclude, the BRIC and MENA regions are the likely global marketplaces of the coming decade, with India being one of the prominent markets which is likely to attract significant investments in the energy, power, oil and gas, refining, petrochemicals, and fertilizer sectors. The likely prospect of large investments in these sectors and global scale projects can be expected in the near term, with augurs well for EPC companies and equipment suppliers, with plenty of opportunities both in the domestic and export markets, and thus the EPC sector is poised for major growth in the coming years. I wish that this interesting seminar, Raising the Bar of EPC Sector in India, will provide the right platform for EPC companies to demonstrate their capabilities and experience to Indian chemical industry. Thank you for your kind attention.